I heard a rumor that Jedi's only use C#.
Confirmed. But stormtroopers only use JavaScript because it's not type safe and they're always missing. So you want to make money as a software developer, but you haven't learned how to code just yet. We think there's 3 ways that you can learn how to code. You can go to a bootcamp like Code or Foundry, or you can take an online course like at Udemy, or you can go to traditional college or university. We think bootcamps are the best way because you get a teacher, a coach, or a mentor. But however you've learned to code, we're going to assume for the rest of the video that you've already gone through that process. But if you would like to learn how to code at Code or Foundry, go to coderfoundry.com/job roadmap. Today we're going to talk about how to make money as a software developer, and we're going to cover 3 ways that you can do this. The first thing we're going to talk about today is how to get that first traditional software job. We're going to go over the mechanics for doing that after you've learned how to code. We're also going to talk about freelancing and how can you get more freelance clients and where can you find work there. And the third one that's most interesting to me, I think, is how do I start that company? Or even more than that, how do I come up with an idea for an application that can make me money? And we're going to go through all 3 of those, so stick around and let's talk about getting that first traditional software job. Like your mom said, get a job.
Unemployed, out of work, at your wit's end, you from J-Town, get a job.
Now, you may think that's completely obvious. I don't think so. I think that a lot of people don't realize that getting a job is for them, and so therefore they don't even try. They don't know how to get there. I want to tell you today how we can get there. Now, we talk a lot about this on our channel, but as we approach a new year, maybe for the first time, you can embody that and say, how do I get that first software job? So I'm going to assume that you already know how to code. So the first step, number 1, that I think everyone needs to do is figure out like what type of job am I going after? Now, we still believe in 2020 that full stack web development is the job to go after because there's so much demand for that. But if you want to go after full stack web dev, or you want to go after desktop development, data science, or mobile, that's going to change your step 2. But first thing you got to do is decide what type of job I'm going to do. And hopefully that your learning that you've done to learn how to code has also been focused around the type of job you're pursuing. So if you're looking for that first software job, I think you should go after full stack web dev. But if you want to go after mobile or data science or whatever, let's do that. Now, the second thing that you need to do is build a portfolio. As you're breaking in, you must have an artifact to show a potential employer or a recruiter. That is mission critical because you've got to prove that you have the knowledge and the skills to complete the job. Now, as you go further on in your career, maybe you got 5 to 10 years of experience, your CV or your resume may show that more readily. But even then, I feel like if you always have your portfolio, it gives you something to talk about in an interview, and it also showcases your skills and also keeps you sharp. So inside that project that you're going to build, whether that be a web development project, a mobile project, a data science project, whatever it is, I think that the techniques and the skills and the language and everything that you built that project in that's on your portfolio, you should take that and interview for those types of roles. For example, if you're looking at full stack web dev roles, ASP.NET C#, build your project in that and then go and look at an interview for ASP.NET C# roles. If you built it in PHP or using Python and data science, then interview for roles that are using that stack. So the stack you built your portfolio in needs to align with the stack that you're interviewing for to give you the best possible chance to get a job. Now, a lot of people ask us, well, what about contracts? I think contracting is a job. So it doesn't have the same things like maybe not 401ks or health insurance or things like that, but it is a paycheck and it can be quite lucrative if you know what you're doing. So contracts are great to break in with as well as full-time roles. Now, a lot of people ask us, as my first-time job, can I work remote? And here's what I want to caution you on. I think that if it's possible for you, for example, if you're in the US, I think you should get a full-time role that's in person in the office, because not only will you be able to learn from other people, you can build some critical skills like interpersonal relationships and learning how to communicate well with others and play nicely with others. Those types of like very kind of soft skills will serve you well as you go forward in your career. If all you've done is worked remote, you sometimes can become isolated and you're not as, sometimes we can turn into grumpy coder guy, and we don't want that to happen to you. We want you to be this kind of well-versed, well-adapted individual that can work well with others, because as you move up the chain, maybe into management, those skills will serve you well. So get that first software job by building a portfolio, and then look into working with a recruiter. So once you have this portfolio, take that to a recruiter, allow the recruiter to do the legwork in finding you a job. Now, you can submit directly for jobs like through Indeed.com, but sometimes resume scanners can keep you out of the loop there because you don't have any kind of work history there. And so allow that recruiter to see your portfolio and then sell you into the organization. And then finally, when you get to the interview, make sure that you demo your portfolio, your projects, and talk about them at a detailed technical level so you can win the first software job. So a full-time job is not for you. I totally get it. And you want maybe more flexibility in your day. You don't want to work 8 to 5, or you simply want to leave your current employer so you can set your own schedule, or maybe even make more money. Freelancing can be very lucrative, but it also can be very sparse if you don't have a lot of customers.
Any customers?
No, Dr. Venkman.
But the question is, how do I get my first customer? How do I get these jobs so that I can create a very lucrative freelancing career? And sometimes your freelancing career can turn into a full-blown consulting company like I have started. So how do I get the first customers? Well, today, there's a lot of websites that have sprung up that allow you to bid on open projects. And these can be Fiverr, Freelancer.com, or Upwork, and there's some others as well. Now, I'm not recommending any of these sites per se, and your experience and your knowledge may vary with each one of these sites, but this is a way for you to attract customers and to bid on projects. Now, let's talk about the unknown fact about freelancing. The thing when you become a freelancer is it's more than just your raw coding ability or your skills. You do have to become a salesperson because you're selling you to these potential customers. And even if you're just bidding on something on freelancer.com, that pitch right there must be well written, it must be well received, and motivate the customer to look at your bid or your pitch or anything like that, and then hire you. Now, how else could you attract customers? Well, you need to go back to that portfolio in step one. You need to have one of those. I think you need a professional domain name that portfolio is attached to, and that's just my personal belief, that you can also hang your email address as well. monstercoder@gmail.com isn't a professional email address, but your first name, last name is, and that can still be on Gmail, but if you had a domain, that gives you extra points. I think your LinkedIn profile needs to be legit, professional, and well-maintained so that when you do get a pitch and they go look you up, they can say, okay, this is a real person and they're a serious individual. It's not a scam or it's not a fake or anything like that. So I think you need to maintain your portfolio, your LinkedIn presence, and create a professional business cards and things like that that you can hand out to people. So there's a lot of sales involved, but as you start out, hey, there's a lot of websites that make it a lot easier than it used to be. But to truly make freelancing into a lucrative gig, you're gonna have to find some people locally and nationally in your area to see if you can find work. So when you learn to code, we always have these romantic notions where I want to build the next Twitter, the next Facebook, be the next tech billionaire, or maybe I want to change the world with my software application or idea.
This will change the world.
And so there's these kind of tech giants that we look to, that we aspire to, and we're just like, I would like to be that person or that guy or run that company or build that. The question is, how does that happen? How can we do that? And I'm gonna give you one tip today, and we're gonna go through the genesis of ideas. So you need to be mindful of your surroundings. Now, what I mean by that is if you don't have an idea for an app, but you know how to code, look around for ideas in your everyday life. As you walk around, carry a notebook and start paying attention to everything you come across, and you're looking for two main things. The first thing that you can look for in your everyday walk of life as you're looking around is look for something that's very manual that could be automated. For example, at our office here, we had someone deliver a pallet of stuff to us. The bill of lading came to us on paper. It was handwritten in 3-part carbon paper. Now, if you're in the US, you're like, really? Someone gave you the yellow, pink, and white copies? Yes. and I know it's almost 2020. And so that tells you that there's a lot of industries that have not yet automated. So not everything has been written and not every service has been invented or widely adopted yet. So look for something that is manual, that could be automated. The second thing that you can do is look for pain. Now, what I described for pain is not someone that stubbed their toe, but for a service or an industry that's not well used or has a lot of problems. For example, when you look at Uber and how Uber was invented, these guys were waiting for a cab and they had a hard time hailing a cab in Paris. They invented Uber right after that because they thought, man, it'd be really cool if I could get on an app and tell the cab to come to me. And they got their own drivers, and the rest is history. And you have Uber and you have Lyft. The same thing holds true for Facebook or Twitter. They all have these similar stories where there was a pain or a thing they wanted to solve, and they solved that with technology. So look for pain. Now let's say that you've went through your everyday and you've wrote down a lot of ideas, and you saw a manual process that you figured out. You saw something where you could solve the pain or whatever. The second thing you do is ask yourself this question. I've identified a problem. Is it worth solving? And sometimes the manual process is perfectly acceptable, and sometimes the pain isn't really that big and people wouldn't take onto the service, so the problem isn't worth solving. So how do you figure out if it's worth solving? Look at the number of people or companies or potential customers for this particular service and count that up. If there's a lot of those, it's probably worth solving. If the pain you found is only your brother's, it's probably not worth solving. So you have to find a problem that is broad enough adoption where it has a lot of potential customers. The third thing that you have to do is, now that you've done this, you can figure out how do I find these customers? So this goes into customer acquisition. So you've identified a problem, you figured out the problem is pretty big, and so now you need to answer two questions. Who is the customer? Who would buy this? And how do I find them? Do I have to call them on the phone? Can I email them? Can I build a website? Can I run a marketing campaign? Do I have to do all of the above? What you want to do is get to your first 10 to 100 customers to launch this, to prove this out. And the fourth thing you want to do is how do I monetize this? How would they pay for this? And so that can be a subscription, it can be a one-time purchase. And then fifth and finally, once you've identified these things, you said, I found a problem, it's pretty big, I think I know who would buy it and how to find them, and I think I know what I'm gonna cost, is go look at the competition. Is there another company out there that has already solved this problem? And if they have, that doesn't mean you shouldn't build it. It means that the market has actually been validated. So now you can go look at that company and see kind of the hurdles they've already overcome, the problems they faced and solved, so that your launch can be that much smoother. To sum up what we talked about today, you can get a traditional software development job. Now, we think that's the best route for you today, especially if you're early on in your career. But you also can become a freelancer, maybe start your own consulting company. And the third and the most exciting thing is maybe you can build a new app or service and launch that into the marketplace. Hey, if you're enjoying our content, do three things for us. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit the little bell to get notifications. So I hope this helped you out. Leave some comments, and we'd love to interact with you there. But good luck and keep coding.